saw a lot of football players at the basketball games and such. And I'm curious, what do you make of their presence, not just in football, but around the university, things like that?
Well, I think that we're the most visible bunch on campus in a lot of ways, athletics as a whole. And so we've got to root for each other. I mean, we're all Eagles, right? It doesn't hurt that a lot of those guys on this team have girlfriends on that team. That's doing from homework from a bird's eye or a 10,000-foot perspective. But we legitimately want to root for those teams. Naturally, it's a lot easier to root for teams that are more into winning games and they got some momentum going. So seeing those guys at the men's and women's games is awesome. They put a couple runs together. The women's team went to the dance. The men's team just fell short of it. It's fun, and in turn, those folks root for us. And the opportunity for us is only about 6 times a year in the regular season because we play at home 5 or 6 times a year, where we get the opportunity to do that 10 to 12 times for each men's and women's program. So I think they enjoy it. I think they love filling their time with sports, but also with their significant others and their friends and other, Eagle athletic people.
Aaron, you have a quarterback that has experience. We've seen over the last, since you've been here, guys are in their 2nd or 3rd year seem to take a big step. Is Kiko ready to make that step, in your opinion?
Well, yes. The quick, short version of that is yes, but I don't think it's just relegated to that position. I think that's the easiest position to see growth gain from starting year 1 to going into year 2. I think there's multiple positions that maybe not are so stat friendly that you see growth from them starting their first year to them going into their 2nd year. I kicked myself a little bit in 22. It's one of the regrets I have, not playing Kikoa a little bit more. I'll be honest with you, looking back, first year starter and gunner, first year coordinator and Coach Chapin. I mean, there's some things that I don't wrestle with at night, but I think about that, could he have expedited his growth going into last year in Kikoa? Those are all kind of hypotheticals, but that's one of the pieces where we probably could have gained some growth in 22 and put him in spots to be successful, because naturally if you're unsuccessful in situations, you don't want to mess with, the future of any position when they have unsuccessful situations. But I think he had a hell of a year. Stats aside, great leader. He's got a ton of guts. Kids believe in him. He gets along with everybody, and he's growing in the leadership role. He's not scared to speak up. I'm continuing to try to push that more. I'm trying to get him to have less friends, more enemies. I don't know how that's going for him, but I think those are things that are going to coexist over summer, over fall, to get into those adverse situations and games. Kids believe in him. They love him, and he cuts a lot of good hair. So he's also a friend in a different arena as well.
Offensive coordinator is now in his 3rd year. Quarterback's in his 2nd year. You've got experience on the outside. I mean, is this, to the average person, this offense should take a step? Is that how you're looking at it right now?
Yeah, we will. We took a huge step last year. We're just so accustomed, Dennis, you and I, Dan, to a certain extent, where we're so used to 525, and if you don't get 525, it's a failure. We're all about chasing wins, and we can't do that unless we play better defensively. We maximize our red zone opportunities, keep the football in our possession, because we're great for about 6 games. We're top 10 of the nation, then we end up being like bottom 20 in the nation after 11 games were done. The season's 11 games long. We're so used to a ton of great success here. Any record broken here, especially offensively, it's like, oh my gosh, those don't happen very often. A lot of those things aren't going to fall. I mean, Afton Chisholm's not going to end up catching Cooper Kupp, but 2nd place isn't bad when Cooper Kupp is sitting in 1st place. I do, and I've said this before, I think we're all spoiled. I've been front seat of a lot of those for 2.5 decades. The league is tougher. It's not as easy to put 500 yards up. I mean, just look at the league itself. Guys are rushing the ball for 325 a game. That was natural throwing the ball 10 years ago in a game. It's just different, and it makes it harder, more challenging, and that's why we got to raise our competitive spirits. But we will take major strides. They just may not be from a statistical standpoint. We'll get some guys in places. We know where Mike Wortham is. We know Jared Taylor can win. We know Kikoa is going into his 2nd fall. Nolan Efton outside. We'll put some guys around and make plays. We'll be okay. We'll be okay. We just got to be intentional about our business and find ways in 1-score games to be on the other side of the 1-score games. Because 2 years ago we were in very few 1-score games. Then we were in a bunch of 1-score games last year. We just ended up splitting those one-score games in half, win losses. We're a grown-up team. We'll get more experience this spring, and our mentality will be different this fall.
Is that what you're hoping to get, is more experience this spring? Is there a certain goal for you, saying what you know about your team going to be better offensively? Is there something you're targeting in the spring that when you get to the end of it, you go, yeah, it was a successful spring?
I want to see us have edges. And we started creating some of those edges last year. We need to create more of those edges. Don't break the rules, but push ourselves to bending the rules as far as we can in between the whistles. We're just helping guys up is to me is not an option. We need to have a little bit of swag, a little bit of mentality, a little bit of this is back to where we used to be. We're Eastern, we're Eagles. We play on a red field. We're going to protect our home turf. Just a little bit more edge. Let's just put it that way, more edge. So I'd like to think that I played with that, I coached with that as an offensive line coach, and it's my duty to get the team to understand what that edge is, and then to employ that edge when we get to keep it score.
One last quick one. How did you end up deciding that Coach Sanders was the right guy for the coordinator job?
Go through the process. He had been here a year, so it wasn't too long in it. The natural question is, why do you go in-house versus out-house? And to me, if someone's here for 4 or 5 years, that's always do you put a guy in that role? He's intent about what he does. He's been around some different schemes. He's going to utilize personnels. He knows football. He relates to kids. He coaches a position. There's about 6 that come off the top of my head. He's got energy, he's organized, he's ready, he's willing, and he's yearning for the opportunity to say, you know what, we were a shell of what we need to be, and I believe in my heart of hearts that we're going to get to where we need to get to, and we're not asking to be top 5 in the nation. That's not what we're asking. We just need to make sure that we stop the run, we tackle the football, we turn the football over, we play good in the red zone, and everything else will take care of itself. So I believe in Coach Sanders. I watch his work, and a lot of times people don't realize your interview a lot of times is your time on duty wherever it's at. It doesn't take a 3-hour conversation. It takes a 7-month conversation daily to see what he's all about, and he's got the effect that we need. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.